So what I need to do to this guy is I've created this character um, with his big arms and big hands and things, and I need to UV him because he's currently, like, if I look at his UV set, it's a real mess. Everything's all over the place, and this is a standard thing that always happens when you first build stuff. The UV sets and the way the UVs will be laid out will be a complete mess. I've left parts of his body completely separated because I'm actually just going to UV one side of his body and then duplicate it and flip it to the next side. And this is because there's no point UVing the right arm and the right leg and then just to do exactly the same on the left arm and the left leg. So the first thing I'll do is I'm actually just going to delete these parts. If I show you in the grid, he's exactly in the middle, so, and this is really important because basically it means I have a pivot here which is in the middle of the grid, and it means that if I scale him in -1, it means that I will get a flipped version of the character, and I can do the same with the hand and anything else. The bit I can't do it with is the body. I might want to put things in here where I might want to have a slightly different texture on the left hand side and the right hand side. Just going to make a couple of tweaks here as well. I've just noticed something. Um, so yeah, I'm just going to start with basically just with texture. I'm going to do this as fast as I can, and I'm going to just use the standard way of UVing. So I'm going to go through. I'm just going to have a look at each part. For this part here, I want the sides of this UVing, I want them to be separate. I don't want them to share the same set of UVs. Planar UV set. I'm going to use the x-axis because down here, if I fire it down the x-axis, it'll hit it from the side, and immediately there I'll get my I'll get my faces UV'd. They're over the top of each other. If I right-click, select one of the UVs, and if I just go to select and select shell, what that will do is it will allow me to select the shell that UV is a part of. And basically a shell is any group of UVs. So if I click on a UV here and select shell, it'll select that particular shell, and that is belonging to these faces on this side. If I select these, it selects them on that side. So and if I just select UV and if I just double click, it'll select the shell as well, so it's quite handy. What I'm going to do, a little bit like a pattern, I'm just going to UV these, and I'm going to just lay them out here on the side as if I'm kind of working on a desk, and I'm just cutting out a pattern. So naturally I'll just use cylindrical map for this one, if it works properly. Just going to line it up. Now, one of the things I could have done if I was feeling sensible would be to UV these before I started building with them, but I'm not really that fussed at the moment. I can use a few of these tools as well, so aligning UVs can get a bit tricky, so there's some really handy tools here. So I can select a couple of UVs here and I can snap align them together to the left hand side, which means the UV to the furthest left will stay where it is, but anything to its right will be aligned with it. So I can just go through these and select these and use this tool here to do that, and it just lines things up really nicely. Same with the top UV to the basically brings everything in line to the top UV, and this I'm going to UV it to the bottom. So that's taken my cylinder there and it's laid that out. I'm going to have to do the same with this one. Just another cylindrical UV. It's a real mess when it comes in here. As you can see, it's spread all over the place. But if I take the cylindrical UV map and I just turn it like this, I can get it to line up pretty well. Like that. just do the same method again as I did for this one. It's a bit more dramatic, the changes here. Just gonna go to the right here. I'm actually pressing G here to save a bit of time. G just repeats the last function that you used. Oops. And that should just do it. Whoops. Just going to line these up, just taking them off to the side. Sphere, just going to double click on this so it just grabs everything. And that is actually already laid out for me, which is pretty handy. This one's a bit of a dog's dinner, so I'm going to create a UV. I'm actually going to map everything except the sole of the foot. And I'm going to go from the top along the y-axis. I'm going to click apply, which will have created this here, which if I turn on this, you can see where things are overlapping, where parts are overlapping, where the map has been applied from the top, and it has overlapped these ones at the bottom. So you can see there, you can see that's why they're purple. It's because we've planar mapped the back face. So that's why I'm seeing them there. So what I need to do is, I can either unwrap them, I can just take an edge, double click on it, and it'll grab all those edges, and I can actually unwrap it like this. That's sort of a way of taking it, and just unfolding it as if it was made of rubber or something. But what I can also do is, if I select shell, I can just go to polygon, and I can just unfold. Whoops, not unfold, sorry, polygons, and I can just, where's it going? I can go to unfold, and I don't want to pack. There, I'll just turn those off, and then it's just unfolded it there for me, which is quite handy. So that's all unfolded. This sole of the foot here, that's what that is. Okay. Sole of the foot there. As you can see, it's a real mess, so I do need to sort that out. And I'm going to just go to UV planar map and apply from the top. Can make it really small because you hardly ever see the soles of the feet, so I'm just going to make that small from the beginning. I'm just going to take a few of these, and I'm just going to go and take a cylindrical map on this one. Turn it round 90 degrees, and again 90, like that. I'm just taking these and I'm shifting them off to the side, ready for later on. And now I've got all this to do as well. Just going to take these. Again, it's another cylindrical map because it's a cylinder. Turn it around the side. Just going to try to line it up as best I can. You can see how it's lining up here. That's not too bad. Do the same with this one. Like that. A bit smaller because it's a smaller area. And then with some of these, oh no, I thought I might be lucky, but I'm not. Oh, hang on there. No, it's a bit of a mess still. select the shell. Yeah, the cube's kind of laid out there. It's not... if I did it like this, it's not going to sort of reflect the fact that these sides are quite long. So I'm going to have to UV this properly. So and it's laid it out there for me. This last one, just going to lay that out like that. Not too concerned about the way this one's stretched in there. It's a very small face. I suppose what I could do if I was feeling sensible is to take the edges here, separate these off so I can go to polygons, cut UV edges, and then just separate them like this, just so it's not so stretched. There we go. So it just makes it a bit more sensible. So let's have a look. Now normally you can see which faces are still a mess because I can just grab it and I can just grab whichever faces are missing. Now it's those ones there, so these are really messy still. So again, I just need to go through these ones and I just need to deselect these cube ones. And I've got a few of these planes left. Like that. Now I'm feeling lucky. So what I'm going to do is, I've got a load of these circular ones, and what I can do is they're all roughly lined up with each other. I don't want to go through each one and planar map each one. So what I can do is I can go to UV, and I can do a camera-based UV, and that means it's kind of like projecting from the angle that I'm looking at them, and because they're all lined up and they're all facing me, when I do that, it'll line them all up, or should do, like that, because it's like taking a snapshot of them, and that's quite handy. So I'm going to select that shell, which is the top one, and then that one, which is there, and that one. Oops. Now these ones are backwards. These ones that are shown in red, you know, that's why they're showing. So I can use flip UVs just to turn them round, which is this one here, and that's just flip those round. Okay, so now we're getting to the last bits and pieces. There's just this sort of elbow part here. I'm going to just grab that, just do a cylindrical map. It's laid out like that. So that's the limbs done, at least. Now, what I need to do is I need to keep carrying on with this. So I've still got the hand to do, and what I think I'll do for that is, there's a couple of different ways. It's kind of finicky, really. Most of these are made of cubes, and I can be a bit cheeky and just use the maps that I've got, hopefully, if they're not too mashed. And so I'm just going to grab those and pull those out. These are the fingers. Now, yeah, it's kind of messy, really. I think I probably need to properly map these. What I'm going to do is I'm going to map one side of the hand and then the other. So I'm going to take these fingers here, because I don't want to go through each of these, and I don't want to have to, cylindrically map each one of these fingers, because I could be here for a very long time doing that. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to map one side of the hand, so I'm going to map the palm, and then I'll map the back of the hand. And that hopefully should be a bit easier. So let's just go around, just selecting all the faces to do with the palm. That includes the thumb as well. print there. I think that's pretty much the palm done. And I'm going to use that same, I'm just going to use the tips of the fingers as well. So that's pretty much, yeah, that's fine. So I'm going to use that same camera technique. So I'm going to go to UV. I'm going to go to UV and I'm going to use camera based, apply, and then what I get is a snapshot of the hand like this. Now there's a lot of overlapping stuff, but it's not too bad. So I'm just going to take a little bit of time just to select these and just stop them from overlapping. I'm using shift and I think less than, and it means I can then grab and grow the selection. You can get it from, you used to be able to get it from select, wherever select's gone. Select. I can, I don't know, maybe the button's gone missing. It used to be, well, basically I hit shift and more than and less than will grow and reduce the selection, so you can grab just a couple of vertices and grow the selection like that by just clicking it a couple of times. So I'm just going to move these out of the way like that, move that like that. And the other thing that this is doing is it's allowing for, it's just making sure the faces are shown, so they're just shown in the right ratio. So it means that the size of these parts is actually correct in relation to each other, because otherwise I might get a really detailed texture somewhere in some places and less detailed in others. So I'm just going to grab these and move this around, hopefully. Oh, I've missed a couple of faces. That's annoying. Oh well. So I've moved that around. So the other thing I can do is I can use select and I can grab all these faces here, and then I can just hit shift, drag select, and it'll deselect the faces I did have selected and select the faces around the back, which is really handy. So you'll excuse the pun. So I'll create UVs, do the same thing, camera based, apply, and it'll snapshot the back of the hand, which is that bit there. Now what should have happened is I should then have everything. So I'm just going to go to that. Yeah, I've got no polys left in there, and there's the back of the hand there laid out. So this is going to take a little bit longer to lay out because I've got more faces. I need to unfold these basically. And I'd rather not do it automatically. Just gonna using double click there to grow the selection and select all of the vertices in the shell. It's a bit laborious, this. There we go. Alright, let's have a look at what else is there. I'm just going to lay these out. Just going to unfold them. what I'm doing with these now is I'm just selecting them, and I'm going to go to select shell. I'm just going to use polygons, unfold, and in here I'm just doing one iteration. I'm not going to pack. I might prevent self-border intersections and prevent triangle flips, and then what should happen is if I apply, it just sort of unfolds them. It'll work better on this one, hopefully. I'm just going to apply that, and there it'll just unfold it. Just going to try a couple of these just to see whether turning them off and on makes much of a difference, but as you can see, it's generally unfolding things, and it's just saving me a bit of time sort of picking apart these UVs. So everything on there is now unfolded. There's a few things I need to lay out properly though. Just for this one, I think it's pretty messy still. What I need to do is get this so that all these parts don't have these nasty gaps. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take these parts and just start laying them out. Whoops. In fact, I've just got another one to unfold there. Just going to apply that. And if I use unfold with these ones, what it does is it gets everything aligned nicely. And let's have a look. Yep, okay. So basically now what I have to do is get all these parts, and I need to sort of fit them together like a bit of a jigsaw puzzle so that they're making the most efficient use of the space. You can just see there that I've got a four-sided 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-sided face in there, which shouldn't have happened. But I'm just going to take all these in, and I'm just going to put them in to space as best as I can, just packing them together. Now let's have a look. I've got a couple of things I can do to this. I can go to polygons and I can go to layout using the default settings, I think, just in single or multiple objects, non-overlapping, no pre-scale, and I've just applied it and it's put it into my UV space here, and that's done okay. It's a little bit messy and I'm still getting quite a few gaps. I have a feeling that if I just go round these, I can probably pack it slightly more efficiently, which is what I'll do now, but without boring you, I'm gonna just pause this and then restart once that's been done. What I've tried to do here is I've tried to consolidate these together now to sort of two sections, and yeah, they're not too bad. They're fairly well packed together, so that seems to work okay. I'm just going to grab them. It looks really messy at the moment. One of the main things is though that all the faces here are relatively the same size. They don't have like fingertips that are massive and then palms that are really small. So when they use the texture space, they're going to use it pretty efficiently. So I've done the arms there, and that's fine. So what I'm going to do now is just merge these limbs together, and just going to save. So I'm just going to grab this now and I'm going to merge it together. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look at the relative sizes of these things, so things like the hands. What I don't want to have is like a small part like this one here, which is really small on the model but enormous here. I want to make sure everything is scaled to be the right size. So what I want to do is just make sure everything is relatively the correct size. Just going to flip this over to make sure it's the right way around. So yeah, so I don't want something really small like a thumb to be enormous on the map, and then something like a hip, which is quite big, to be really, really small. I need to make sure that everything is roughly the correct size. So in order to do that, I'm just going to look at what the objects are, and oh, this is the other thing I need to do. Is I just need to just grab that. I just need to look at each of the objects and work out how big they are on screen, and then just start scaling them so that they're roughly the same size as they are on screen, and start laying those out. So my forearm there, another bit there. I've also got to think about how much detail I'm actually going to have on these things. For a forearm I might not have a right lot of detail. Just going to flip that one. Just going to take these off to the side. Every time I've done a bit, I'm going to just take it off to the side. Again, I'm not going to put a lot of detail into that parts there. So I'm probably going to take this down in scale and just pack it into this bit here. I wish it would stop doing this. So that's pretty much the arm laid out there. So I've got that part. I'm just going to look at the relative size of these things here. I'm going to start roughly that size. That's roughly about slightly smaller, I think. This is the inside part, so I'm not going to really see a right lot of that. Oh, no, wrong way. Sorry, that was the inside part. And that was the outside, so I'm going to scale that. Just going to pop that there. So I'm not really concerned about the size of that bit, because I'm not going to see a right lot of it in there. Just going to take the what else have I got? Oh, I've got all these arm parts. Again, I'll just slot this in there. So it's really just like putting together a little puzzle of different bits and putting them together. And seeing where they best fit. So that is the arm there. So that's the arm and a bit of the hip. And what have we got here? Some other bits here. We've got this bit here, which is that part of the hip. I'm going to shift that along. So I'm just packing this together. I'm trying to use as the space as efficiently as I can. Oh, got a thumb which got lost in there. I have to put back in there. Got a finger which is again got lost. It's the sole of the foot which I'm not going to see a right lot of, so I'm going to just fit that in there. Top of the foot fits quite nicely into there. Oops. that really small ball joint, I don't want that to be very big at all. I can make that really small, and I can just move it into there. So now that is the limbs. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate that, put it in X, and that is, I'm going to modify, I'm going to freeze transforms. Not so concerned about those faces being that way round, but I will flip them round like that, and then I'm going to shift them off to the side. The reason I'm going to do that is because if I select this lot, now I've got duplicates. Now I've got a choice. I don't really want to waste UV space. The way this is textured on the left hand side is going to be exactly the same as it's textured on the right. So in fact what I'll do is I'm just going to leave these UVs where they are, and I'm not going to flip them round, and I'm going to leave them as they are there. And what that'll mean is when I paint on this surface here, whenever I texture here, we'll get textured there as well at the same time. So it's just trying to make the use of the UVs as efficient as possible. I'm just going to put that there. And I've just got the head to lay out. Create UVs. I'm going to cylindrical map it. And I'm just going to quickly unfold it. Unfold. It's a bit of a mess. I'm not really liking that much. I'm going to create a separate map for the top actually. And where did that go? Just going to separate that bit off, and then that should just allow me to relax these UVs and unfold them. Still a bit of a mess. Just going to get these ones underneath the chin. I think this is part of the problem, is that I need to actually split some of these. So there's a split, and then I'm just going to cut the UVs down the back here because I want this to unfold. Oh, in fact that's okay. So I can take that, polygons, unfold. Now that should be uniform. It's turned it a little bit. I'm not so concerned about that. So take that one there. So I've used that one. I'm going to flip this round. That's the back of the head. I'm not so concerned about the back and the underside, so I'm going to make that pretty small. And same with this top of the head. I'm not so concerned about that too much, so I'm just going to slot this underneath here. So that's the head done, and I just need to do the body. That bit's done, which is quite handy already. This bit, I'm gonna seems to have got some weird faces going on here. I don't know. Just going to use a cylindrical map of this. That's fine, and I'm just going to lay that out. Just going to unfold it. It's a bit weird actually. I think I'll just leave it. Maybe not, maybe not. Maybe I'll just use the tool for aligning. Like that. It'll be easier if I I'm just going to lay these out. So there's a bit more evenly laid out, which is good. Same with this one. UV's a bit of a mess, and I think I'll try a cylindrical map, or actually a spherical. It's not bad. Let's just see if I can unfold these. Ooh, doesn't like it much. So I think what I'll do is I'll just unfold these by hand. It's got a 5-sided face in there, so it's a bit silly. Let me see. Yeah, UV, it's not too bad, I guess. I think I prefer spherical still. Let's look at where these 5-sided faces are. Just underneath here. Let's have a look. Ah, it's got some gaps in the mesh here. Let's have a look. I've got one stray face in there. I'm not so concerned about it. I'm just going to get this out of the way for now. That's generally laid out like that. So now what should happen is if I grab all of these things, you can see I've got my torso, which is these ones here. I've got my midriff bit, which is that one there. I've got my hip section there. So it's a question of just taking these things and making sure I know where they are. I've got one last bit there, which is I need to do a little cylindrical map for. There we go. So that was the last bit, which was just his neck. So there's the neck section. I'm not so concerned about his neck really. So now it's just a case of laying these out, getting them in the best place possible. Let's have a look. Okay. It's just getting a good, trying to get a good layout. Now this is going to be pretty big because it takes up a lot of space on the model. So I'll pop that in there. Because that takes up about a quarter of the entire model there. Just going to shift a few of these to the right place. That again, well, doesn't take a huge amount up, so I'm just going to take that slotted in there. And that's the hips in there. So let's try and find a good place for that. Let's just move the neck along a bit. Move the hips in there. So yeah, it's not too bad, I guess. There's still some places that, some parts that could be better laid out, I guess. What I can do is I can either share the UVs for one side so I don't, I think actually I'll just leave as is. Let's just take this part, let's see where this edge is, there, down the middle, right. I'm going to take this part because this is pretty big and this is about half the thing, so I'm going to rotate that and I'm going to just scale that so it takes up half the map. This is a slightly better distribution there, and I'm going to start shifting these things around. Take his face, shift that, slot that in there. Now his face disproportionately might want to have more space because you may have a situation where you know, with FMVs and stuff like that, where you zoom in on the face. So that is a situation where you might want to give it a bit more space on the UV map. And then what I think I'll do is I'm just going to take this, shift it up a bit, just create enough space so I can scale these parts into it. So I'm going to grab all of these, scale them this way. So again, just trying to make the best use of the map that I can possibly get out of it. Oops. Top of his head there, just going to scale that up. And that is pretty much as I want it. So this has everything there which is now mapped as I need and laid out. I do have some gaps, but there's not a lot I can do about those particular gaps. I could take things and lay them out maybe a little bit better with the palm sections here. That's possible, I can make better use of that. But on the whole, I think I'm pretty happy with the way that that UV set is laid out.